Hi, everyone. When it comes to challenging behaviors, we sometimes have a phrase, and you can see it on here. We say, pace yourself. This was one of the first models I've learned over 20 years ago um, for connecting with kids who have trauma. Now, you may be saying not all kids have trauma, and that's 100% true. Not all kids have trauma, but every child benefits from trauma informed practices. It's just a human way of being. Also, we have to remember that we did go through a global pandemic. So, even though our definition of trauma may be limited, the pandemic that we went through did impact our students. So I thought it'd be interesting to share the PACE model, pace yourself. It's a simple model for parents to learn. It's simple for teachers. It's one that you can continue to build upon. Actually, it goes great with conscious discipline. And it has foundational elements that are easy to remember, easy to put in place, and are extremely effective. So the PACE model is basically playful for P, A for acceptance, C for curiosity, and E for empathy. We'll go through them real quick. There's not a lot of work to be done here. It's just a matter of being intentional and also shifting that perspective. So the first letter, of course, is playfulness. I know these slides are heavy, but that way you can pause and read if you'd like. Playfulness is basically what drives the human brain. Human connection done in a playful manner builds those strong pathways that the person wants to connect again and again because it releases that dopamine and oxytocin, right? Play is how children learn. And in fact, even teens and adults need play. I think that's one thing that adults sometimes struggle with is what does play mean for us, right? But when we're having fun and we're laughing and we're connecting with our friends, our spouses, that's when we feel alive. Now, playfulness does not mean that when a child is has done something wrong that we laugh about it and we make light of it. This is a preventative measure. It's adding in all those micro moments of connection with these students when they walking down the halls and saying, hey, how are you? Or, hey, tell me about your football game. Or, hey, how's your baby brother doing? It's those elements of finding ways to connect in a lighthearted way so that when that student sees you, the brain prepares or expects a low cortisol encounter. Isn't that interesting? Because remember, the brain's pattern seeking. And so if the brain says, oh, here comes Miss Joy, she and I always fight, they're automatically going to have a body language that's going to bring that out of me and vice versa. So playfulness is this a part of investing in a relationship before there's a rupture. We call it an emotional piggy bank almost. You add money into the piggy bank. So that way, when there's a withdrawal, in other words, when there's a rupture, you have something to take from. Now, also, when there is stressful times of transition, when you're working with students, you can also use humor as a lighthearted way to bring things down a little. But again, this piece here is a preventative measure because we want to have those micro moments of connection that are fun and lighthearted. So the student's brain, when they see us, will drop cortisol instead of increase cortisol. All right, let's keep going. Acceptance. So acceptance is pretty tough. Let me put it in this analogy for you. Let's say you had planned to take your family to the park. You're going to go to the park. You're going to have a phenomenal day. It's a beautiful spring day, and you wanted to go to the park. Wake up that Saturday morning, you get everybody ready, you open the door, and it's pouring down rain. Okay. Do you yell at the rain? Why are you raining? I can't believe you're raining. This is the worst thing ever. You run everything. Of course not. If you do, you might need to check on that. But you don't yell at the rain, right? We understand that life happens. So acceptance is saying, hey guys, it's raining. Do we want to do something indoors? Do we want to postpone it till tomorrow? In other words, you seek solutions to the problem instead of screaming at the problem. Okay, let's switch it over to kids' behavior. Acceptance is that you're acknowledging that there's a meaning behind the behavior, and you're going to try to figure out what that meaning is. Look, we're about to talk about curiosity for C, but acceptance is saying something's going on beneath that behavior. It's not the kid is just a jerk. Okay, this behavior is working for some reason. And I have to understand that this behavior is telling me something. I can't label the behavior. I can't judge the behavior. And here's why. As soon as I say this behavior is aggressive or this behavior is disrespectful, that's going to start me down a path of being in my emotional state. And I'm not going to be able to get to a solution. I'm literally going to be screaming at the rain. And that's what a lot of times it feels like, right? We feel like we're just screaming at the rain. And we all know you can scream at the rain all day long, but it's never going to change. I think y'all see where I'm going with that analogy with some of our kids' behaviors. Anyways, let's go to curiosity because it's going to tie right in. So curiosity says, why and why now? You want to be authentically curious as to why this kid's behavior is working for this kid. What's he trying to get to? What's he trying to get away from? What need is being met? Because let me tell you, behaviors only continue if they're meeting a need. And until you find that need, they're not going to stop. So this is this curious. I always, someone once told me curiosity killed the cat. Well, in all fairness, being curious, curiosity is what built the lion, because that's how we grow. We grow when we're curious. We grow out of our comfort zone. We want to know what's going on, and we don't assume we know. We don't automatically assume, well, I know what he's doing. He's doing this to manipulate the situation. He's doing this so he doesn't have to he doesn't have to do the work. Da, da, da. As soon as you kick into that, you are going to start putting your brain, maybe past behaviors you were accused of, but you put your brain, your past, your narrative into that kid, and you can't do it because that kid's not you. That kid's brain is not your brain. He was not raised by your parents. I know, go figure. He doesn't have your upbringing. He doesn't have your experiences. He is not you. She is not you. So as soon as you think you know what she's doing, be careful. Because when you lose curiosity, you start assuming that you know people better than they do. And that's what'll trip you up. All right, let's keep going. Because the last one ties all this in together. The last one is empathy. And empathy is you are going to acknowledge the feels. Ugh. You're going to say, I know this is tough. I know you're frustrated. I know you're angry. This must be hurtful. Now, here's what's great. If this kid has a phenomenal relationship with you and you say, I know you're angry, and they're like, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. That's what you want. Because empathy is you trying to label those feelings for them so then we can work through them. Because guess what? You've been on the planet a lot longer than they have. You have more skills, hopefully, than they have. So that is where you step into those shoes and you work them through it. Does that make sense? This empathy piece is saying, I don't know really what you're going through, but I'm going to try to feel the feels because maybe then I can help you through it. Now, let me just go ahead and give you a warning. And a lot of teachers experience this, and then they experience it for so long, they become blocked off. And it's called compassion fatigue. And anyone who works in an industry of service, yeah, Teaching. When we have to connect with other people to be successful, we are automatically required to have empathy. Because look, you can't connect. Our kindergarten teachers may have 16 to 20 kids. Our high school teachers, good gosh, y'all may have 160 kids come through your path every day. You're going to have to connect. And when you make those connections, empathy is the logical step. The problem is these kids are bringing a lot of trauma that you may or may not be able to process. And what happens is you become burnt out. You have compassion fatigue. And it literally is one that can make you exhausted. It can impact you physically, mentally. You may even start to try to protect yourself, and then you start to become aggressive or defensive because you don't want to connect anymore. So we always have to remind ourselves that we have to protect ourselves. But what's interesting about our profession is that empathy is truly required, because since we're working with humans, we have to connect. That's what makes education such a messy field, is that it'd be great if they were all widgets who all did the exact same thing with the exact same way you taught, but they don't, because they're all different. So, told you it was going to be quick. This is the PACE model. Pace yourself when you're working with challenging behaviors. Understand that being playful can build a foundation, so that way if ruptures happen, you've got something to land on, but also it can help diffuse situations when they do start creeping up. Acceptance is understanding that, you know, some behaviors, all behaviors are a form of communication, and it's your job to try to figure out, what is this kid trying to tell me? That's huge. Curiosity, the only way to really look in that is to be curious from the kids. Talk to them. What do you think happened? What could be done different next time? Why was that your behavior? How did that behavior impact my behavior? And vice versa. Those kind of conversations are great once emotions are calm. And then finally, empathy. If they're angry at you because you gave them a consequence and you're like, suck it up, buttercup, embrace the suck. I get it. We want our consequences. We have in our mind that consequences should not be pleasant, right? The problem is that when some kids get frustrated, we need to acknowledge it. I know this is hard for you. You can't play basketball because you have detention. I know this is hard for you. You're angry because you lost this because of this behavior. Acknowledging those emotions is what's going to give them the skills to regulate those emotions down the road. All right. Hope this model helped. It's a simple model. It works great for parents. It works great for teachers. It works great interacting even with other adults, believe it or not. If you've got an adult that you just cannot get along with, take time to start investing in the relationship with friendly moments. You know, try to have that lightness, and invest in that relationship. Try to understand their point of view. And when you understand their point of view, be curious about how you can work with them. Where are they coming from? If they seem angry, just remember, anger is usually sad's bodyguard, or fear. Anger is pretty is it's a safeguard. It's easier to be angry. Actually, we say it's easier to be mad than sad. Sad is vulnerable. Fear is vulnerable. Anger is defense. So if someone's mad, ask yourself, what are they worried about? What is so scary to them that they feel like I'm a threat? And then finally, empathy, acknowledging those feelings, even though you didn't see it from their perspective in the beginning. Maybe you do now. All right. Hope this was helpful. I will see you around.